Carolyn Nobles. My name is Dan Paulson. This is a reach out to you. I recently found your channel and started listening to your videos, and I instantly recognize a kindred spirit. There's something that a group of people have going on. There's something we have going on that is going to be different from a lot of other people. That whole I don't fit, why do I want isolation? All of those sorts of things are part of an introverted feeler personality. It's a brain type that we have. However, at the end of the day, there's more to it than that. All right, so I guess in a nutshell, I'll just say this, that I also had a childhood that was pretty abusive. We went to church, but that wasn't working. The home, we were whipped with belts and told you're stupid and dumb and you're never going to amount to anything and things like that. There's a point where my brother, Larry, learned about heaven in Sunday school. He was 11 years old. He took a rope in the woods that day and decided he was going to go to heaven. He thought when he died, he was going to go to heaven. So that's what he did. I was 9 years old. I found him and cut him down. There's a point in time where after he's gone, 10, 11, 12, life is going on. The abuse has returned. Everything is back to normal again. And I end up being a runaway, panhandling, eating out of garbage cans, getting taken off the streets by people who said, you're too young to be out here, and then being promptly molested. Life was not going to be okay. I was really heading in a bad path, but I was not the person that was going to stay there. I have this brain type. Something had to happen. I looked and I sought and I found things. And here's what it is in a nutshell. I want to say that I agree implicitly that once you find enlightenment, it does not make you feel better. Here is my thinking on it. I've been working at this for a long time. And first, I also want to say I appreciate you saying I'm not a teacher. I've done that too. And people will say, oh, you're a teacher. And they might say that to you. You're a teacher. What we are is people looking for answers and just posting the results. The teacher label is kind of limiting. I feel like we're kind of out there. We're still on our own. We're not back in the group being a teacher. We're still out there exploring and letting people know what we're finding. And if they learn from it, they'll call you a teacher. But we're much more than that. All right. I have trouble with too much detail at times. So I'm going to try to scale back what I want to say here to make this video something that we can kind of touch bases with and not be some hour-long boring, what's this guy rambling on about video? So, okay. All right, here we are now. I am, obviously, you awaken, you look at your life and go, yeah, I'm not those memories. I am not. Why am I living through those memories? So you've awakened. That's a called person on a monomyth, if you understood what that was. And that's what I'm going to be using. Information from interpreting monomyths from antiquity is how to work through this stuff. Monomyths are psychological pathway that is very difficult to understand. It plays out in the mind in a very antique way, thousands of years old way. That was their media right up here. Here's your gaming platform. It's the brain. And you want the program? Here it is. Learn this. Memorize it. There's your program. Now put it in your brain and do something with it. So that's how monomyths work. But as you go through them, you're defeating things along the way. And all of these are methods of teaching us that the enemy within has to be defeated. And it's our memories. It's the things that we're bringing with us. Now, what I want to say is, first of all, we realize we're not our memories, and you go, wow, okay, I'm not my memories. Yeah, I do feel good over here. But what happens? We get sucked right back into the memories all the time. It's like, why does this happen? Why is my life flowing this way? I've turned inward. Why hasn't anything changed? Just being aware of the fact that you are not your memories doesn't make the memories go away. For some people it might. It depends on the nature of what you're holding. Somebody may have had a very nice life and they just are a little confused about something, and then they turn inward and go, oh, you know what? Yeah, I don't need to do that. I am actually my higher self. People like us have got a pile of things. And the problem is honestly, we live in an emotional human collective. And based on the nature of the energy of the memories, and I'm talking about the emotion, I mean, maybe somebody got molested, 2 people. And one of them goes, oh, I hate that. And they're devastated for a life. And the other one goes, oh, that was fun. I liked it. That's it right there. That's just the difference right there. One person is devastated by the judgment. The other person is like, I never judged it. I don't care. They're not devastated by it. It's that simple, but it's also very hard because it's wrapped in emotions. It's wrapped in our feelings, and we don't like to deal with it. It hurts. It hurts. All right, but because of the nature, based on the nature of those memories and how they feel emotionally, they're going to cause us to flow in life that way. Even if we don't want to, we're going to go fit in places where our brain is wired, but we're not going to want to look at it. That's dark That's behind a wall nobody gets to back there. That's just bad, nasty stuff I don't ever want to deal with. I hate that it happened. I don't want to look at it anymore. And we don't know that that is right there the problem. That is what Eckhart Tolle calls the pain body, or would be a closed third eye, or the mote in the eye, or the ought against your brother, or all of that stuff. Really what it boils down to is the way that we're holding the memories of the experiences and the emotional state. But if I got whipped a lot and it makes me angry and I was beat and beat and beat, that's not something that you just look at and say, oh, okay, I can let that go. There was so many hours of anguish wired into that are really locked in place. Here's the way to understand the nature of the memory. All you have to do is draw it up. Bring it up in your mind. This happened to me. How does it feel? I'm okay. How does it feel? Oh, I don't ever want to tell anybody that one. I'm shameful. That's a problem right there. You've just recognized what the inner problem is, and it's going to continue to act out on those terms. We have to go back and readdress it in order to change that. And that's what the material teaches. You don't just say, I am not my memories, and they go away. That doesn't happen unless you really don't have any memories of bad things. When you're living through bad experiences, it's because we're leaving that bad stuff in place. The DVD, The Secret, tells you to just forget about that stuff and focus on what you want. That's exactly the opposite. Every teacher from antiquity tells us to resolve this stuff, and what you want is going to happen automatically. Don't try to get someplace. Don't try to sail someplace with an anchor left in place. If you want to get somewhere, you got to pull the stuff up. But all of those are anchors. Every one of them like little rudders steering you off course through life. And if it keeps happening and you go, why does this keep happening? I remember moving place to place in life. I'd leave. It's like, oh boy, I'm glad this is over with. This situation has gone bad. I don't like these people anymore. The situation is not okay. Move somewhere else, make new friends, new job, new things happen. And within a year, you're like, these people are the same way. And after a couple of times of that, I realized, you know what? I'm dragging with me the conditions for this to continue to repeat. The only way I can make this stop is to stop fitting with it. What do I have up here? All those bad nasties that I don't want to deal with. That if I bring them up and I start thinking about them, I will cry. Or I will get sweaty palms. I have a physiological reaction to a memory. That's a problem. That's causing us to flow in life. So what do? We've got a conscious. That's what's making the decision. Oh, I need to turn inward. I need to look at myself. I'm not my memories. What we've done is we've reconnected with our higher awareness. We can recognize that. Tossing and turning at night, you can't get to sleep. Something is just haunting you. Periodically, a voice steps in that's calm and tells you, God, you know what? You got to let it go. There's nothing you can do tonight. Just go to sleep. Deal with it tomorrow. You need your rest. You can't do it, though. This is a normal thing. What's happening right there, if you stop and pay attention to that when it's going on, stop and sit with that higher awareness, and you'll see that it's not experiencing the emotions. But the consciousness is there with that. But the consciousness is going to get sucked right back into the emotions. So now the consciousness is re-experiencing that, and the brain operates through the central nervous system. We feel it physiologically. It's an emotional, visceral reaction to a memory or to something that's going to happen that needs to be taken care of, that's not taken care of now. It's in the future, though. We suffer while we worry. However, if you notice, when you're with that higher awareness, you don't feel the emotions. That's the real you. You can look at your memories and go, those are like little entities in there that have been, or programs that are put in place that were necessary for me to live life and come through and get to where I am. Now it's important for me to say, okay, I got to clean these up. This is where I came from. But if I don't get rid of them, I'm just going to keep bringing them with me. Getting rid of them means rethinking them. God, this happened. I got molested. So I feel horrible. I'm ashamed. I never want to tell anybody. There's a point in time I did tell somebody. I'm theorizing something, and I tell somebody, here's something that's so shameful I don't even want anybody to know. It felt like 2 weeks before my feet even touched the ground after unloading that. It was like, oh, wow, in the same way, you dip down energy-wise when bad stuff happens and you eventually get used to that. When you take the stuff off, you feel elevated. Oh, that feels good. But you'll get used to that as well. You have to keep doing that. That elevated feeling doesn't maintain there. That's an emotional experience somebody has from a delightful experience. Okay, I've unloaded that. That's delightful. It's not going to feel that way. You're going to get used to it. And then you're going to also realize, well, that happened. I also stole money from grandma. I feel guilty. And she's, they're all gone now. What do I do to resolve that? I've done things. I've had things happen to me. I can think of these things and go, God, anytime I think of those other things, they're bothersome too. All of that is steering us, which is a real pain because you're like, oh my God, really? I can't just dump that off someplace? And you really can't. So what you do then with that higher awareness is you sit with the memories. You use the higher awareness, you get there and go, okay, from here, I'm not connected to the memories. Now I can look at that memory from out here. Instead of being the consciousness inside of the memory going, God, I hate this, your consciousness is outside sitting with the higher awareness, looking at the memory as if it's something that's separate from you, because it is. It really is. We need to know how to get out of that. But also what happens when those memories first develop, every time we think about them and we feel bad about them, we make them worse. You'll notice if something happened and I felt kind of maybe confused or hurt about it as a kid. 20 years later, I hate the bastard. It's gotten worse. But what happens is you're learning, and every time you bring up that memory and you hate it, it's like fertilizing it. It functions in the exact same way as if you're learning something and you're trying to reinforce it and you keep reapproaching it and it gets stronger and stronger in the brain, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Same exact mechanism through thought and the way we apply emotion with the thought. So what we have to do is the opposite now. You have to go, okay, I see what's happened. I now have to go approach that memory again, this time not going, oh, I hate this. You have to look at it and go, I see what I've done. Unbeknownst to me is I have built this memory. I've taken a situation that happened and I've judged it. And then as I keep going on in life, without it being resolved, it gets bigger and stronger because every time I recall it, I give it more energy. So once we know that, you can sit there and say, okay, from my higher awareness, I'm going to engage with that memory and look at it. I'm going to see different things now. I'm going to see that my mother who was whipping me with a belt, and I thought, God, why did she do that? Why did she hate us? Why did she have us just to do that? And I have to realize years ago, before I'm born, she's a little girl where she's growing up and she's getting beat with a belt and being told you're stupid, you're never going to amount to anything. You're slower than a 7-year itch. Oh, by the way, you're one of the girls in the home, so you get molested. All of these things are happening and my mom never has a chance to resolve them. So what does she do? She acts out. It's incumbent upon me to realize I am just the next link in the chain, that I am not an isolated person here that lived life just to be somebody's whipping boy or whatever, whipping post. That's not a good term. Those are things you think of when you're in your guilt mode. When you get outside of it, you go, you know what? From out here, I'm bigger than that. I have to learn how to let that go. And you keep addressing it from the higher awareness, looking at things and reasoning things from other sides. There's a balance. I hate that I got molested. Well, guess what? You're too young to be out here. You might die. If I was stayed on the streets, I guarantee I would not be here. I would have been into heavy drugs. I didn't have any money, so I didn't get into drugs at that time. Later on, of course, I'm doing psychedelics and things like that. I'm experimenting. I'm learning. I'm opening up. I'm having experiences that are. I'm looking at life going, well, there's something bigger going on and nobody else can figure this out. And I ask people and they go, I don't know what you're even talking about. I don't see it. That's why we need to get together, or brains like ours, because we see things that other people can't see. And there will be people that hear you talk and just deny even your experience. Like that, yeah, you're just, full of it. Their brain types are not that kind. They don't care what happened. That's not their job. They don't have shame. They don't have guilt. We do. Ignorance is bliss. We are bound to not be ignorant. We're not going to be bliss. Okay, so you have to go through those memories kind of one by one, and that could be tricky. Sometimes you don't remember things. Sometimes you're in a relationship with somebody and something happens and you're like, I don't know why I'm this way. And the other person's angry and you try to resolve it. And I have had situations where it's like, okay, I need to work this out with my spouse because I've had problems. And you start off saying, look, I said something. We're not talking. I handled that wrong. It happened because of this or that or something. And the other person says, yeah, go ahead. Admit your problems. It's all you. And really it's not. It's a co-triggering, but you have to just deal with it anyway and say, you know what? The other person may not want to resolve it, but we're co-triggering. If one of us gets rid of it, you're not going to co-trigger. Even if the other person still has it, you're not going to get triggered anymore. So these resolutions have to happen, but you've got to be with somebody who's willing to work with you. Spouse is hard. It's better off to have a really good friend that just says, no matter what you tell them, they go, yep, that's life. Yep, that's okay. Let's talk about it until you feel okay about it. When you feel okay about the memories are no longer a problem. When you feel bad about the memories, they're a problem, but they have to be addressed in a manner that you can shift them from I don't feel good about them to now I am disconnected from them. And I realize, man, I just appeared on earth and here I am. I got to get over myself. I need to somehow move on. All of those have to happen. There are times where my wife would point out to me, this time of year, you get upset about something for no reason. And I don't even know what you're talking about. But at that point, I'm like, really? This time of year? That's a cycle. At this time of year, I'm beginning to realize things are happening cyclically and through cause and effect. And I look back on that time and I remember, wow, you know what? When I was a child, that's the same time of year that Larry took his life. I'm doing this just about this exact same time, right into November, December. And my birthday's in December. And I remember this memory where after Larry had died at church, everybody felt really bad. Everybody felt bad. I'm in Sunday school, and my Sunday school teacher has me take a message downstairs to Mr. Woodard's Sunday school class. It's a grade up from mine. It was Larry's class. As soon as I opened the door, they were all ready for me. They had a birthday cake set up, and they started singing happy birthday to me. And I stood there in shock, and I just started bawling. I look on the table. There's Mr. Potato Head, Cootie Bug games, things like that, a model plane or something like that, and a birthday cake. And I just lost it. I just cut Larry out of the tree about a month before. Nobody ever counseled me. I didn't know what to do. I'm hurt. I don't know what to do. I'm at church. We've been praying to Jesus as little kids. Please make this stop. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. And then Larry's gone. I am just devastated. But I remember that memory. I remember asking, after they got done singing, and I was blubbering, I somehow got out, did you just do this because Larry died? And I did not feel good. I did not, them doing that just devastated me because I had so much hurt that it was like, this is not, what the hell? Oh, your dad died? Here's a piece of candy. Yeah, that's not going to do anything. All right, so I remember that asking Mr. Woodard if he just did it because Larry died, and I was crying, and he said, yeah, guys, go outside and play. Sent everybody out in the back of the churchyard to go play in the yard, and just let me sit there and bawl. And as I remembered that memory, and I'm telling it to my wife, tears are just streaming down my face. And I realized this is a ghost. This is a memory that I don't even recall. It's emerging, and I don't know why. Somebody pointed it out to me. But as I go back and remember it again, I realize, oh, this is a problem. I was not acknowledged. I'm okay now. But back then, I was not. So this consciousness looks at that previous self and has to acknowledge it. So in my mind, I'm playing like I'm myself, and I am also young Danny Paulson, my little boy self. But my little boy self is sitting there crying and blubbering and doesn't know what to do because that's exactly how the memory was put away. I now come back as my conscious self and pick up that little boy and say, hey, you know what? It's going to turn out okay. It's bad right now. Yeah, whatever it takes. And that little boy says, thank you. And poof, off it goes. The memory is taken care of now. You can go back and look at it. It might take a few times. I did that, and I would still tell that story, and it would still make me cry. A little bit less each time until now I can tell it without bawling because it's resolved. The emotion of it has now dissipated. Okay, so now after getting done with all of that stuff and resolving it all, The feelings are good each time. You elevate, you get used to things. Your life is flowing better. You're no longer living in the streets. Now you got a successful life. Things have changed as a result of the changes that you've made. However, you still feel fear. And in today's day and age, with the world going the way it is, it's kind of hard not to get out of that feeling, that collective feeling of fear. But also, from an evolutionary standpoint, humans have two primary drives. Take language and the capacity to talk everything out of the picture. Fear and happiness drives life. All humans, but mammals in particular. I've spent a lot of time outdoors. I've never watched animals eat other animals where the other one just sat there willingly. They try to escape. They do everything they can to try to get away. We do the same thing. We're very fear-based. We know we're going to die. We evolved having fear in order to survive. Now the problem is keeping that fear in check, understanding that, okay, yeah, life is temporary. How can I live without feeling that fear? Back then, if you didn't feel the fear, that meant you weren't being stalked. And when you were getting lots of, okay, we've been starving and now we got a bunch of food to eat over here. Oh, you're going to be very happy. But these emotions continue to drive us. You fear and joy. So I don't think the fear can instantly it can ever go away. When we're not feeling fear, it's because we're not thinking about it at the time, or we're not thinking about, or we're not being hounded by something. Life is okay. I've talked to people that said, yeah, I don't feel any fear anymore. It's like, well, life is good. I guarantee if you're standing in the street and there's like gunfire going back and forth, you're not going to stand there and watch it go back and forth, or, with loud noises, you're not going to walk off the edge of a cliff or something like that. The fact that you're not feeling fear right now does not mean that that fear is gone. If that fear is gone, you're not going to survive. You walk into traffic. You got to have a certain measure of fear. The thing is how to live with that fear. And it's going to that higher awareness and saying, okay, this is a real me. Yeah. I see what's going on in the world. There's nothing I can do. God, it sucks. I got kids. I got grandkids. I love them. And they're coming up into a world that's over-evolving. And the reality of that is denied by the vast majority of the world population, who denies evolution and decides to become an Abrahamic individual instead. And it's very tribal. And we're getting so big, the groups, it looks like we're hitting a breaking point. And maybe I'm just a little too paranoid. I don't know. On a whole global scale, I talk to people from around the world on my channel sometimes, and everybody's like, yeah, we're watching you guys over there wondering what the hell is going to happen with American politics right now. It sucks for the entire world. It doesn't suck for the GOP in America, but it sucks for everybody else in the world. Unless they're somehow in cahoots with the same kind of activity. And we can't stop that. So that's very fearful to me. I can't escape that. I can't sit there and go, I feel good about everything. I can say I no longer feel any hurt from my past. I've resolved that. I've disconnected. I realize, okay, yeah, I'm so lucky to be here. Mom, I love you. Gosh. My heart goes out that she died, never having resolved that. A shell of a woman crying, holding me with her fragile little hand saying, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. You can forgive people when they do stuff like that. You start realizing what's going on, but you also have to separate yourself from the memories. If you can bring up something, like I said, and remember it, and you feel it emotionally, that's the way it's stored. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. This has probably gotten longer than I wanted it to. I wanted to reach out to you, but I didn't want to make it so long that you're like, yeah, I don't even want to talk to that guy. Anyway, yeah. Okay. It's just to reach out. Thank you for your content. I really appreciate it. And I see a lot of people do. Take care.